When you ask most people what comes to mind when you mention Fire Emblem, many responses will have to do with Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Melee added Marth and Roy, two unique sword fighters from a game series that was virtually unknown to a Western audience. These characters were so obscure that they were originally intended to be Japanese-only exclusive characters. However, as we all know, this decision was scrapped and Marth and Roy found their way into all versions of Melee. Though these characters were completely unheard of at the time, they sparked an interest as to who these two were and where they came from. Many discovered that Marth and Roy were from a Japanese strategy RPG series called Fire Emblem. The series already had 5 main entries in Japan before Melee was even released, with a 6th game on the horizon. Marth and Roy gained a large following from their inclusion in Smash Bros., and Nintendo took notice of this. In 2003, Fire Emblem would see its first release outside of Japan for the Game Boy Advance, simply titled Fire Emblem. With a Western audience that was curious to see what the series was all about, the first entry was quite successful in North America, selling over 490,000 copies. Solid sales encouraged Nintendo to start bringing over more Fire Emblem games to the West. From 2005 to 2009, North America would see 3 new Fire Emblem games release, as well as a remake of the original game for the Nintendo DS. Each game managed to sell fairly well and gain positive reviews. Though the series gained a devoted following, it failed to reach a mainstream audience and never became Nintendo's next big franchise. That is until 2013, with the release of Fire Emblem Awakening for the Nintendo 3DS. Development of Awakening started in 2010. With the series seeing a decline in sales and popularity over the years, Nintendo stated that if the game did not sell 250,000 copies, the series would see its end. With the development team fully aware that this could be the last Fire Emblem game, they wanted to take the best elements from previous entries and bring them together to create the ultimate Fire Emblem experience. And on February 4th, 2013, Fire Emblem Awakening was released in North America. The game was met with outstanding reception and scored a 92 on Metacritic, and has sold 850,000 copies in the US alone, and a total of 1.91 million worldwide. Without a doubt, Awakening has become the most popular title in the series. But why? The game keeps the same overall formula that past games have had, but makes slight changes that substantially improve the game as a whole. One of the best additions was the ability to pair up characters in battle. This mechanic allows for 2 units to turn into 1, while also gaining the possibility of getting extra hits, raised stats, and higher chances of blocking enemy attacks. Another benefit of pairing characters up is support levels. The more times you have certain units pair up and engage in battle, the higher their support level grows. There are 3 support levels, A, B, and C, with an extra rank S if the 2 characters are of the opposite sex, each yielding different dialogue. The S rank is a very important one, but we'll cover that in a bit. While other games in the series have had support systems and conversations, they were lackluster compared to what Awakening brought to the table. Just take a look.
Huh?
Nope.
Oh.
Huh. Oh yeah?
It's obvious that the dialogue between characters in Awakening is much better, not just writing-wise, but presentation-wise. With voice acting, fitting background music, and beautiful character art, it's easy to see that Awakening blows the past game's support systems out of the water. With each conversation, you can see the characters' personalities and relationships between each other unfold and grow. You as the player begin to find yourself forming an emotional attachment to these characters. This feeling of attachment directly relates to one of Fire Emblem's most well-known mechanics, permadeath. If a character dies in battle, then they are gone for the rest of the game. By having permadeath on, every move has to be carefully thought out, or else you risk the chance of losing that character you have grown so fond of. This all leads back to the support conversations. You see all the characters' personalities, and you become attached to them just like any other character from a book, movie, or TV show. You have control over your characters, and you do everything you can to prevent them from dying. Sure, you can just reset the game and try again if you happen to lose someone in battle, and I assume that's what most people do. But you choose to reset because you fear losing them. The bond you have formed with that character is so strong that you as a player are willing to give up time and progress at another shot to keep them alive. This is one reason why Awakening exceeds compared to other games in the franchise. Characters are more relatable, they have strengths and flaws, emotions and personalities, not too different from our own. When you hear about their stories and struggles, you form a bond with them that carries over to the battlefield. A bond that keeps you constantly trying to do whatever it takes to keep these characters alive. The game makes you think and plan out every move, constantly forcing you to think of new strategies, ultimately making victory well earned and extremely satisfying. In addition to the A, B, and C support ranks, Awakening also has S ranks. S ranks are one of the most interesting mechanics in the game, allowing for characters to be paired up and married. By marrying two characters, not only does their partnership and stats increase when paired up, but the result of the relationship is a child. This is another completely new mechanic that Awakening introduces. Children are recruited through various paralogs and make great additions to your team. By pairing up different characters together, their children will have varying looks. Parents also pass down their abilities to their children, which makes for a very interesting mechanic and adds replayability to the game. By having abilities passed down to children, it allows you to basically create a member of your team to your exact liking, taking your favorite abilities from two different characters and condensing them down to one. Whether you pair up two characters based on personalities, looks, skills, or stats, the possibilities are endless. It adds an immense amount of replayability to the game, and it makes you want to come back to the game for more playthroughs to try and pair up different characters. Once again, this ties in directly to the notion of attachment. You pair up two characters that you like, and it results in a child, a new member for your team, a new character, a new personality. You then learn about that child, who they are as a person, their strengths and weaknesses, both physically and emotionally, creating another character you will do anything to protect. Awakening strives in creating realistic and memorable characters, something past Fire Emblem games haven't been able to do. In addition, Awakening is a more accessible game when past games tend to alienate newcomers. As I touched on briefly, permadeath has been a main staple of the Fire Emblem series, but Awakening allows you to turn this mechanic on or off, making a playthrough for a newcomer more enjoyable if they so choose. This option is referred to as casual mode. When a character falls in battle, they simply cannot be used for the rest of the chapter, but will return to your team upon completion of said chapter. This setting alone has finally steered people towards finally giving Fire Emblem a chance, giving players the choice to choose how they play, rather than forcing them to go a certain route, has finally brought this series out of being an obscure Japanese strategy RPG to one of Nintendo's most popular franchises. To some longtime fans of the series, this addition may be viewed negatively, as it does change longtime mechanics, but for any game to grow, it has to be accessible to newcomers. And that is why Fire Emblem Awakening succeeded, by simply tweaking the formula, improving presentation, creating memorable characters, having a solid story, and putting that on top of its already fantastic gameplay, you have a game that took off. Awakening was going to be the last game in the Fire Emblem series. Knowing this, the development team put everything they had into this final game, and it paid off, becoming a major hit on the 3DS and giving the series a second chance. Since the release of Awakening, we have seen two new entries into the series, Fire Emblem Fates, Conquest, and Birthright, along with an extra DLC story called Revelations. Both were fantastic games and take everything that Awakening did and builds upon it. Fire Emblem is no longer an obscure game. It has now reached a high point in its popularity. We now have 6 Fire Emblem characters in Super Smash Bros., something no one could have ever imagined. Also coming in June 2016 is Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE, a Fire Emblem crossover game with Shin Megami Tensei that will be releasing for the Wii U. And on top of that, a Fire Emblem game will be releasing for mobile devices in the near future. It's safe to say that none of this would likely be possible without the success of Fire Emblem Awakening. Today, Fire Emblem has gone on to become one of Nintendo's strongest IPs, a challenging, fun, and charming series. A series whose future looked grim not so long ago, but is now looking brighter than ever. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I really appreciate that. Want to give a big shout out to Phoenix Master 1 for allowing me to use his Fire Emblem Awakening gameplay for this video. So, big thanks to you, dude. Check him out. He's a Let's Player, does a lot of gameplay stuff, so check him out. He does a lot of really high quality stuff, so links in the description below, annotation or card on the video if you prefer to do it that way. You know, if you enjoyed the video, make sure and give it a like. It really helps me out. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this topic in the comments below. You know, what do you think about Fire Emblem? Do you think there was another reason why this kind of series took off? Just let's talk about it. I want to hear about you guys. I want to hear about your thoughts. I want to hear about what you're feeling, baby. Come on, let it out. Just let it out in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, make sure and subscribe. That always helps me out, and it'll let you know when I upload a new video. I got social media, Twitter and Facebook, so check those out in the description below. And make sure and check out my Wario World video. That's a similar style to this video. I did that a while back, but definitely check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, thanks so much for watching once again. As always, you know, I always appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I love you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later on.